Good morning. Happy Veterans Day to those who serve. Happy Waiver Day to the degenerates watching this show. Though, looking at waivers, there is not a lot to be happy about. Let's get into it. Josh, am I live? So my screen says I went live, and it still says go live. What is it showing on your end?
Go live.
Okay, that was weird. So I just did a practice intro for you.
Oh, no. Apparently, we are live on YouTube.
I don't know what to do right now because my button still says go live. I don't even know how we're going to end the stream now.
This is going to be great.
This is going to be weird. I'm going to play an intro video. Congrats on a wonderful intro. Welcome to WireTapped.
This is going to go so swimmingly. I can see it already.
Mark, you are positive we're live on YouTube.
Yeah, it's literally streaming on YouTube.
Okay. Knucklebuster, confirm for us that you can see us right now, please. You're the first comment since we've started this show. StreamYard is a mess and says that we are not live. I don't know how we're going to end this stream. It's going to get very interesting.
We're going to find out.
It's Club Fantasy's weekly waiver wire show. I promise you, we do not normally have any sort of technical difficulties like this. Knucklebuster says we're live. This is going to be fun.
Appreciate that. No, thank you.
We are normally very smooth. Today is not very smooth. I'm Ryan. He's Josh. Truly happy Veterans Day. Josh, how are you doing today?
Hey, it's Victory Tuesday today.
Yeah.
That was an ugly Monday night game, but you know what? I will take the win.
We were about to start this conversation off the air. You didn't realize I was about to start it, but I was about to start it. Josh put it on the line. There was going to be a lot of passing last night. I don't think you knew about the weather, Josh. I certainly didn't have the weather. And I don't want to say a lot of money, but I put a decent amount of money. It did not work out real well.
No, I mean, it had nothing to do with the weather. Like, for all the bitching about Kevin Patullo and lack of quality play calling, I figured, a week off, refresh, kick the wheels. Homeboy did not grow as a play caller. He, in fact, regressed. That was some of the most vanilla play calling I've ever seen, and it was only matched on the other side of the game field because Matt LaFleur's play calling, apparently Tucker Kraft was that entire offense because holy shit, did they look terrible.
Yeah, I looked at, everyone knows I don't stay up late, but I checked at halftime and saw the passing yards. I said, well, that's burned money. But also wild ending to that game where old boy tried to kick that field goal with everything he had. And left is an
understatement. Throwing it on 4th and 6 was
when you haven't been able to throw the entire game.
So fucking. Although if that pass completes, I do hit my 4-leg parlay. I missed Jalen Hurts' passing yards by 15.
Oh, and by the way, Jalen Hurts, 27 rushing yards. Thanks, buddy. You couldn't take a knee on 4th and 6.
Dude, I was so mad because they had a couple targets to Christian Watson, and the first one he catches, it's 20 yards. And I'm like, 21 and a half was the longest reception that I called, right? And I'm like, God damn it. So then they go deep one more time. He catches a 22-yard pass. Illegal formation on the Packers. I'm like, I hate it here. And then he finally catches a 25-yarder. I'm like, all right, I hit my leg. We're good.
I do want to quickly throw out, Knucklebuster said CBS had the same issue. So we are in good company. And Caesar saying it's hilarious. As the host, not hilarious, let me tell you. I'm just staring at the word scheduled on our screen, Josh, and it's bothering me to all extremes.
Honestly, I kind of want to just refresh the page and let you sort of do your thing and just kind of see
if you're going to be the one who can end the stream. Yeah, if you need to leave, go ahead. I'll do the push and I'll get into my top 5 real quick. So first and foremost, If you haven't done so already, hit like, hit subscribe, drop comments into this video if that was the worst intro you've ever seen. Though I've done a lot of intros on Club Fantasy, so it's certainly not the worst one you've ever seen. We do have super chat, so if you feel like you're getting behind in the comments on YouTube, we get a lot of comments. Yesterday was an hour and 45-minute show. You can throw us a couple of dollars. We'll answer your question right away. And we do have a Discord. Link is in the description of this video. I am by myself right now, so I'm going to try to go ahead and drop that for you guys. Actually, I'm not by myself. Josh is still on the screen. So,
yeah, I came back and it still says schedule. So that's fun.
Shit happens. All right, Josh, let's get into news and notes. The big one that happened yesterday. I'm going to run through all the news, but there's one we're going to spend a lot of time on. I'll just save it for last. So, Washington has ruled out Jaden Daniels. He will not play in the Spain game this week. And then Treylon Burks comes back, has a decent game, hurts his finger. He's going to have surgery. He is also not going to play in the Spain game. Joe Burrow designated for return from the IR much sooner than most people think. He now has 21 days to be activated. I think it's very likely we see Joe Burrow play again this season. Rondé Gadsden is reportedly day-to-day with a knee injury. Garrett Wilson is set to miss the next month with a knee injury. He almost has to go to IR. But Josh, the only one anybody cares to talk about right now, the New York Giants, after weeks of speculation, have fired head coach Brian Daboll. Mike Kafka will take over as the interim head coach. John Mara says that Joe Sheen is going to remain with the team and will be a part of the process of hiring the next coach. A lot to unpack there. Let's just start with you as an Eagles fan, the Giants as an organization, and then we need to talk about the fantasy impact of any of this.
Well, the Giants are making yet another mistake by not canning the head coach and the GM at the same time.
Yep.
When they fired Tom Coughlin, they let Jerry Reese hire the next head coach. They both ended up fired within 2 years. Dave Gettleman, same thing. He fired his head coach, and then he brought on Joe Judge, and then boom, both of them were gone, and then clean house again.
Judge.
So like,
such a terrible hire.
It's like if you want to let Joe Shane finish the year out, okay, fine, whatever. But you cannot hire your next head coach with Joe Shane as the GM. I'm sorry, you just can't do it. You've got to clean house, plain and simple. And by all reports, Joe Shane wasn't the one that wanted Jackson Dart. It was Brian Daboll. So that should tell you right there that Joe Shane doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, because Jackson Dart is that fucking dude.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, I've already seen odds pop up on who the next head coach is. Mike McCarthy's name keeps getting floated around, and I'm just like, how does this guy keep getting jobs?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, he lucked into a Super Bowl because of Aaron Rodgers. He is a terrible decision maker. Terrible. Stop giving him jobs. You know, I've seen college coaches. They're not going to survive in New York. At the end of the day, it's probably going to be some hotshot like a Joe Brady or, you know, Clint Kubiak. It's got to be somebody on the offensive side, because that's where all the young, promising weapons are. I've seen Jesse Minter floated around, the defensive coordinator for the Chargers. So, like, there's going to be some good candidates. And quite honestly, this is a very attractive job. When you have guys like Jackson Dart, you have Cam Scatteraboo, you have Malik Neighbors. And yes, I understand 2/3 of them are coming off of season-ending injuries, and one of them is currently injured with a concussion. You know, hopefully the next guy that's calling plays isn't trying to get them thrown into their deathbeds. But yeah, I mean, look, collapse after collapse after collapse. That's bad coaching. I'm sorry. Like, Daboll's time was he never should have gotten this season, quite honestly.
That's fair. I'm going to be mad if they don't go offensive, because you're just doing Jackson Dart a disservice at that point, unless you go defensive and get a hell of an offensive coordinator, because we've seen, like, Liam Cohen was the hot commodity and he hasn't done shit to help Trevor Lawrence. So it'll be interesting. I wonder if, Josh, would they dip their toes? Is there any hot college coach out there that they would dip their toes in, you think? Or,
I mean, I've seen Lane Kiffin's name thrown around, but I don't think he's leaving the SEC, quite honestly. He's got a cake gig over there at Ole Miss. I know Florida, there's all the rumors that Florida wants to go after him, but like he's turned a not so great SEC team, you know, that's like good at once every 20 years or so when they get a good quarterback, into a perennial contender. Why does he have to go anywhere? He's going to make more money in college, quite honestly.
Yeah, that's true.
And has a much longer leash than he would as an NFL head coach.
Very fair.
So,
let's quickly break down the fantasy impact of this, Josh. And the question is there any fantasy impact when the offensive coordinator becomes the interim head coach? It seems likely. I mean, Dable was an offensive guy, correct? So he may have had it.
He was the one that was calling the plays.
Okay, so this could change pretty drastically. My first question was, it had already looked like Tyrone Tracy was taking over that backfield. With Dable gone, Singletary was a Dable guy. Does this become a Tyrone Tracy-led offense?
Well, I think it has to be, right? I mean, if you're firing your head coach because you're 2-8, you're making it known that you're playing for next season.
Yeah.
Right? So Devin Singletary is not going to be part of that future, right? Tyrone Tracy is. He's still on a rookie contract. You need to see how much of a load he can continue to carry and if last year was a fluke or not. Because if he's able to continue to do it this season, much like Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson, you have a solid 1-2 at running back if Cam Scatterbo comes back healthy.
Yeah.
And, you know, teams nowadays are running these two-back sets, two-back rotations. It's not a one guy is getting 90% of the workload. Like, those types of running backs are very few and far between. Yep. And for as much as Cam Scatterbo was getting used, a lot of that was because Tyrone Tracy was hurt the beginning part of the season. They needed to ease him back. But Scatterbo was just that good, and they didn't want to take him off the field. So, but if Tracy can prove that he can improve in pass catching, he can improve in pass blocking, right? Understanding the nuances of the offense, even if that offense isn't going to be there in this year or next year. But who knows? This is also an audition for Mike Kafka. He's been in head coaching interviews in different cycles over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
If he's able to elevate this offense even further, maybe Joe Shane keeps the job and they hire Kafka and then they're resetting in 2 years. I don't fucking know, but like that'd be the story of the Giants because that's been the story of the Giants. So, yeah, I mean, they need to get Tyrone Tracy going. So I don't, you know, they're going to lean on their defensive coordinator, just let him run the defense. And then Kafka is just going to kind of do his thing. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's auditions for everybody.
Very true. Yeah, and Singletary's not auditioning for shit except for his next gig, wherever Dable ends up as the offensive coordinator. Josh, there was an interesting comment. You had some notes in here with, not really notes, but Joe Burrow coming back. Burrow apparently said he will be back for the Thursday game in week 13. And you mentioned it's a wide open division. This is super interesting.
Yeah, it's very wide open. I think that's maybe Joe Burrow's target. I know that Thanksgiving was brought up. I believe this is the Thanksgiving matchup against Baltimore. Yeah. Like that's kind of the, you know, we'll see that, you know, that's the one that he wants to get back for because A, it's a division matchup. B, Baltimore's only a game ahead of Cincy.
Yep.
So, you know, and it's going to take probably whoever wins that division is getting a playoff spot.
At this point, with the way Joe Flacco's playing, do you see if Burrow can like play corner? Because they need some defensive help. It's just obviously a joke. But like for me, Josh, this is going to sound fucking crazy what I'm about to say. Joe Burrow coming back changes nothing for fantasy. You started every player of the Bengals offense. You continue to start every player of the Bengals offense.
Yeah. And honestly, when you look at, you know, time to throw metrics, all those different things, like Flacco and Burrow are basically the same when it comes to that. So it like, I don't think it's going to be much of a drop off. You know, Burrow had a slow start to the season, you know, only 2 touchdown passes in the 2 games. Obviously Flacco's been on fire with that, but he's only gotten 1 win in 4 starts. So
I was looking, Josh, when I was prepping the waiver article, because I saw Burrow popping up on a bunch of people's waiver articles. I'm like, Burrow's not out there. And he's out there in about 35% of leagues, whatever. Joe Burrow, when he went down, Josh, was averaging 7 fantasy points a game.
Well, but that's the thing. This offense always starts slow. So, I mean,
Joe Flacco is the QB1 since he took over.
And yeah, that's, again, it's like, do you really bench that guy? But I mean,
yes.
Yeah, you bench that guy. You're paying Joe Burrow $55 million a year.
I'll tell you what you do, though, if you're Cincinnati. For as long as Joe Flacco is upright and not using a walker, he is your backup quarterback from this point forward. It just can't be anything else. Josh, the chat is popping. Let's get to that before we get to the waivers today. It's going to be mostly waiver questions. But we start off with the start sit already. Hunter Henry has the Jets on Thursday. Do not know who TJ Hawkinson has, but the answer is never. TJ Hawkinson, who is playing, it's versus Chicago. Ain't that about a bitch? The Jets are just as bad as Chicago. I'm going Hunter Henry. I'm staying far away from TJ Hawkinson.
Yeah, I really don't want anything to do with Hawkinson or quite frankly, that entire Minnesota offense. And I know the moment I say that, somebody's going to catch a touchdown pass, and it's probably going to be Hawkinson. But, yeah, I mean, I understand the question. Hunter Henry hasn't been great. They've been getting the wide receivers a lot more involved. But, yeah, it's the Jets. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And they're getting their rivalry uniforms. Have you seen those? Those are badass.
No, I haven't. Off the
Patriots. Yeah, those are.
I was feeling.
Renee was rocking her Drake May rivalry uniform on Saturday.
Look at the picture.
Sunday. It was great.
I was feeling the Saints all white. I forgot how much I love those jerseys this past Sunday. They were fucking dope. Keenan says Woody Marks had his breakout this week, 28 points against the Titans earlier this season. He had his breakout and went off for 28 against the Titans. Plus, he's been good the last couple weeks. Do we see a repeat performance 20 plus from Woody Marks against the Titans this week?
I don't know if we see a repeat, but he's definitely going to be involved. The biggest thing that I talked about on yesterday's show with Woody Marks, it's game script. He's in the game when they're throwing the football, when they're trailing, because he's the agile, the pass catcher, right? Nick Chubb is not that. When they're winning games, there's more of a rotation. Nick Chubb is getting more of the carries. Woody Marks still playing that passing down role. So, I don't know that we get the 28 points unless Woody Marks is the one that ultimately scores the touchdowns.
Yeah.
But you're going to see a lot more of a probably 55-45 split towards Nick Chubb if Tennessee can't make this game competitive.
Yep. Jason Williams, drop Alec for Troy Franklin. Let's just start with that one because, Josh, this is tough. Troy Franklin has finally crossed the 50% mark, so he is not on the waiver list. Alec Pierce is on bye, but I still included him on the waiver list. More on that in the next segment. These are two pretty good players. It is half PPR, which in my opinion favors Pierce. I would want Franklin more in a full PPR. If I'm not starting either one this week, Josh, I think I'm holding Alec Pierce.
Yeah, and that to me is what it boils down to. Do you need somebody this week?
Yeah.
Because if you need somebody this week, then yes, I'm going to get Troy Franklin. But if I can afford to stash, I want Alec Pierce.
Yep. And then he has an issue at tight end. Would you drop Pitts for Theo Johnson? Josh, if my boy Jackson Dart didn't have a concussion, this is probably a yes for me. But if we're going back to Russell Wilson, I don't trust Theo Johnson. I'll stick with Kyle Pitts.
That's exactly where I'm at with that. I mean, they're roughly the same in terms of points per game in fantasy so far this season. Let me rephrase that. Overall fantasy points. Theo Johnson is currently 12, Pitts at 14. But Pitts is averaging 10.3 fantasy points. Theo Johnson 9.4. So I mean, they are pretty close. I get the question, but again, I'm not looking Theo Johnson's way if Russell Wilson is starting.
Yeah. Keenan needs to pick 2 running backs out of 3: Kyron Williams, Travis Etienne, Woody Marks. He asks if matchups matter. Someone in the chat quickly told him matchups matter. There are a few players, Josh, Kyron Williams being one of them. I don't care if you're putting Kyron Williams against these two guys. I'm taking him every time, regardless of the matchup, because of who he is and his propensity for finding the end zone. So to me, this question really does come down to Travis Etienne taking on the Chargers, who've been tough on defense, or Woody Marks in this matchup that we like a lot.
I'm still going Etienne. And you're not sitting Kieran. So Etienne, for me, he's the volume guy. And until Woody Marks is getting 65-70% of the carries or touches,
that's a great point.
It's all about efficiency at that point and what you're doing with your touches. Etienne gets the volume. I know exactly what I'm getting out of Kieran. I know exactly what I'm getting out of Etienne. So I'm not going to play the maybe what if games just because Woody Marks went off on him earlier this year.
Yeah, that's a really good point. You're betting on something that we haven't seen a ton from Woody Marks, whereas the other two guys are the volume.
Now, if there was no Nick Chubb,
yes,
100%, I'm going Woody Marks. That's not a question.
It's the Kyle Monangai theory at that point. So our 10-0 resident, Mr. Quincy Davis, says has Lamar on both squads, a 10-man and a 12-man. Backup for Lamar is Flacco, And then the other one is Purdy. Would we drop them and pick up Burrow and JD5 on waivers?
I'm not messing with Jaden Daniels. I'm fine with Burrow.
I say Quincy's been watching the show enough to know that Josh and I are of the firm belief Jaden Daniels does not play again.
Yeah.
Season, so,
I mean, I honestly, when Joe Burrow went down, I was pretty much on the bandwagon of you can just drop Joe Burrow. Like, I can't imagine that the Bengals are going to be competitive, but turns out
idiots.
The division isn't very competitive, so they've got a shot to bring him back.
Yeah.
The opposite is true for Jaden Daniels because the Eagles are running away with the East. So there's no point in Washington fighting for a playoff spot at this point.
I think you have to get Burrow in any league you can get Burrow.
I agree.
The issue is, are you dropping Flacco when you have, Baltimore's had their bye?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm dropping those two and getting.
Yeah. I have zero issue dropping those guys because Lamar's is bye free. He's healthy-ish. He's not running like he used to, which sucks, but he's still throwing touchdown passes, which is fine.
Wild how weird he's been running the ball this season.
Yeah. No, I'm fine with that move. Dropping Flacco and or Purdy for Joe Burrow.
Keenan's looking at a flex start, Josh. Juwan Jennings, Quentin Johnston, Travian Henderson, who has that Thursday game against the Jets, or Tedero McMillan. Right now, Josh, and this got mentioned in the chat as well, if Stevenson is out, it's got to be Travian Henderson, but I'm kind of leaning Henderson either way. I think the the Patriots are going to lean on him against the Jets.
Yeah, so McMillan has the Falcons.
He's been tough against outside wide receivers.
Not even outside wide receivers. Number one wide receiver.
Yeah, that's good too. Yeah.
Who are the other ones in the question?
Juwan Jennings and Quentin Johnston.
49ers get the Cardinals, and Chargers get Jacksonville. Quentin Johnston is interesting. He's a little bit more of a headache than I'd like, but Jennings is seeing the football. I don't love that matchup. I'm probably leaning Henderson. The only thing that worries me there is that they're just not throwing him the football the way that I want them to.
Wild.
Which that massively limits his upside.
As Josh pointed out yesterday, how does a guy break 2 40+ yard touchdowns and you still won't throw him the football? Get him open in space. Folks.
Get him open in space. Yeah. It's probably Henderson. Ask me again tomorrow. I might change my answer.
Yeah. Let me be real quick. And it's all familiar names in the chat. We will answer every start sit question. Our information gets a lot better tomorrow. We kind of shift focus into week 11 tomorrow for our Wednesday show, 9 p.m. Eastern. Actually, tonight, Derek Tate and Samantha Holt go sideline banner. That kicks off kind of our week 11 coverage. That's at 10 p.m. Eastern. And then Saturday, we do a show that is all start sit where we have the best possible information. So we're never going to not answer your question, but our information gets better as the week goes. Marcus is picking up Joe Flacco for Jackson Dart. Dropping Troy Franklin. I assume you're not dropping Jackson Dart because don't. Picking up Joe Flacco for Jackson Dart, dropping Troy Franklin for Woody Marks, and then dropping BTJ for DeAndre Swift. So he has a lot going on this week. Mm-hmm. So let's start with Josh. You're losing Jackson Dart. Now you know you're likely losing Joe Flacco in 2 weeks. Are you willing to full pivot off of Dart to Flacco, knowing that you're then in the streaming game 2 weeks from now?
No.
Yeah, that's kind of where I stood as well.
Not at all. Yeah, not at all. No, you got to have a different option at quarter. I mean, they don't list any options here, so
yeah,
maybe Flacco is your only option. Which that would definitely make me nervous. But you know what? If you got to do what you got to do, so
yeah, I'm good with your other drops. You're dropping mediocre wide receivers for good running backs. You have to make a move like that.
Yeah, and you have plenty of good wide receivers, so you don't.
Yeah, and you just need to come out of this. And then Josh, he finishes up with, "Are we considering sitting Saquon Barkley at this point?"
No. Why?
Okay.
I mean, he didn't score a touchdown this week. Guess what? Nobody scored a fucking touchdown this week.
It's weird.
Like, it was just an ugly game, plain and simple. But he's racked dropping up 90-something yards.
He has Kittle. He's dropping Gadsden for Flacco. You're doing the right thing then.
Okay.
Yep. You're holding Dart. Yes. You're handling this right, but we are not benching Saquon Barkley. No. So. But he does come back with, would we drop Dobbins for Tez Johnson? Josh, I need to know more about this Dobbins injury because RJ Harvey still hasn't really done shit. I feel like they're going to keep using Dobbins. I love Tez Johnson. I've pointed out that I think he's a wide receiver too now. I think he's a flex even when Chris Godwin comes back. But I don't like dropping running backs for questionable wide receivers. But if this foot injury turns out, like, I wish we had more information today, basically.
Yeah, it's risky. Because again, I mean, you're dropping a top 20 running back, and again, Tez has been great. He's been very valuable, and we're going to talk about him in a little bit. Actually, it's a pretty good segue if you want to just hop.
Yeah, I say that's probably a good point.
But yeah, and that's really what it boils down to. I mean, do you really feel that you can afford to drop Dobbins? If so, then all right, fine. I mean, I don't love giving somebody else that kind of advantage.
The new advice Josh and I have kind of landed on in the show. If you're not going to play Dobbins the rest of the season, make the move. Don't worry about what you're doing to somebody else's roster.
At the end of the day, you got to get wins. And if Tez is going to fit into your lineup and get you wins, then so be it.
We will answer every chat question. You guys have nothing to be worried about there, but we are going to fit some segments in, and that segment starts with my top 5 waiver ads heading into week 11. Last week, not my best performance. Honestly, Alec Pierce still looked good this week, but we joked. Parker Washington replaced, though he did have 2 touchdowns this week. Torrey Horton replaced. Tyjae Spears didn't play. Like, it was just a weird week. So one of those things. Nobody else kind of really popped after last week's waivers. This week, I like my guys a lot better, though 2 of them are on bye, which I normally will not do. Let's talk about that. My number 1 waiver ad, because I didn't want to do Alec Pierce back-to-back while he was on bye, is Tez Johnson. Josh, I think the best wide receiver on waivers is Alec Pierce, but he has a bye week. I also think Juwan Johnson is about to change somebody's fantasy season. He has a bye week. Tyler Algier needs to be rostered by every Bijan Robinson manager. I do not know why he is not. And then there's Trey Benson. I listed him on my list, but I poured water on my own article. I have a feeling Josh is going to pour water as well. But Josh, let's start with Tez Johnson. 2 touchdowns this past week, 5 targets, catches 4 balls. In my article, I point out that he has been the wide receiver 20 in the last 4 weeks since kind of like taking over this job. Baker finally looked good against this week. Everybody's worried about what happens when Chris Godwin comes back. I still like Tez Johnson even when Godwin's back on the field.
Todd Bowles has already come out and said there is no timetable for either Bucky Irving or Chris Godwin to return. That's concerning considering it's week 11. And they've already missed how many games? You cannot bank on either of them right now to save your seasons, because I can't imagine that your season is going great if you've been waiting on those guys.
Very true.
There's that. But in terms of Tez, he's above 9 fantasy points in 5 straight games. 2 of his last 3, he's at 15.8 plus. His 4 TDs over his last 4 games, just had 2, and he's had over 42 receiving yards in 5 straight games. He's a picture perfect wide receiver 2 on his own fantasy team.
Absolutely.
And the fact that he's scoring touchdowns elevates him for fantasy purposes. His next 4 games, at Buffalo, at the Rams, Arizona, and New Orleans. Those are all 4 pretty solid matchups for a wide receiver 2. I don't see how he doesn't continue to put up top 30 numbers week in and week out. So, I mean, at worst, if they do get Chris Godwin back, he's the wide receiver 3 in his own offense. They run a lot of 11 personnel. He's still going to see targets. If Godwin doesn't come back, again, he remains the wide receiver 2 and has weekly top 30 upside as a flex.
Exactly what I said in my article. Exactly what I said yesterday. Nothing to add. If you were looking for a wide receiver 2 to help get you into the playoffs, certainly in half PPR or even standard leagues, Tez Johnson is your guy. But Josh, I just want to quickly throw out there, Alec Pierce in the last month is the wide receiver 12 in fantasy football. This kid, his role is his role. He is that deep threat guy. It hasn't quite been boom or bust, and you actually pointed this out last week. He's had a relatively steady floor. 9 points is his worst output over the last month. I like what we're seeing. If you don't need to start a pickup this week, Alec Pierce is the guy I'm targeting.
Yeah, he's 100% a stash. I mean, and honestly, like anytime you see these quality offenses, you want as many pieces of them as you can get. Like the games where Pittman struggles because coverage leans his way, guess what? Alec Pierce is taking tops off of defenses. He's making defenses pay for double teaming Michael Pittman or focusing too much on trying to stop Jonathan Taylor, right? Like everybody is complementing each other in this Colts offense and it's running seamlessly. So get a piece of that offense if you can.
Yep. Juwan Johnson, go look at his numbers over the last month and even getting better since Tyler Shough take over. If you're streaming tight ends, go get Juwan Johnson. as I mentioned in my article and mention almost every week, Tyler Algier needs to be rostered by every Bijan Robinson manager. There is no excuse that Bijan Robinson is 100% rostered and Tyler Algier is 50% rostered. It does not make sense. Josh, Trey Benson, I'm going to listen to your take and then I'll add if I need to add anything.
So this is basically where I'm at with Trey Benson. If he comes back this week, his next 5 games, San Francisco, Jacksonville, at Tampa, the Rams, at Houston.
Not a great schedule.
It's not a great schedule at all. If you are, we'll say, lucky enough to grab Trey Benson on waivers, see who else put claims in and trade him.
It's not a bad idea.
I mean, that's the easiest thing that I would consider. Like Tampa Bay, you can run on, right? San Francisco's been hit or miss. Houston, they can bend, but they don't break, right? Jacoby Brissett has been throwing the football well, but he doesn't have, like, outside of Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison, he doesn't really have, like, a spread of weapons that's like, oh, I got to respect these guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So defenses can just play normal. And for as much as we like Trey Benson, what has he really shown us that is this guy is a top 15 running back? You know what I mean? We're making him out to be that because of opportunity and because of what we saw from him as a prospect. But right now, to me, he's still a matchup dependent running back.
100%.
So, like, I would have zero issue going through and saying, all right, if one of the managers that put a waiver claim or FAAB bids on him has a Travis Etienne, a DeAndre Swift, Jalen Warren, Quinshon Judkins, I'm going to look at them and see if we can make some swaps. Yeah. You know, upgrade wide receiver, swap running backs, whatever. And if those guys or guys or girls aren't willing, pivot down to RJ Harvey, Travion Henderson, Woody Marks.
Yeah.
Move them for some of them and then sell the opportunity. Oh, he's coming back. He's getting that job, 70% rush share, blah, 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 all this stuff. That's what fantasy managers want to see.
Yeah.
And get yourself somebody that's actually producing.
And I'll throw the couple of things in. I did pretty deep research on this. Still is not practicing. Coach is calling it day to day on him getting back to practice. So it seems unlikely he's back in week 11. Then Josh brings up the schedule. Then, Josh, I went and looked, and I'm making this sound like he isn't a top 5 waiver ad. This is how bad waivers are right now, folks.
Well, but he's just, when he comes back, he's a starting running back. 100% he's a top
Josh,
waiver ad.
I went and looked at what he did between weeks 1 and week 4, and obviously there was some James Conner timeshare in there, but he was the RB 36. You were absolutely right. When Trey Benson took over, I thought he was a league winner. I would call him now a playoff saver, not a league winner. If you are fighting for the playoffs, Trey Benson is the guy you're targeting. That wraps it up, folks. You will find a full article with all my thoughts on these 5 players at clubfantasyffl.com. Josh, for this round, I'm going to pick and choose in the questions and try to focus on questions that are about waivers right now. And then we'll get some of the trade questions in after the next segment. So first waiver question, Zach says, is Parker Washington still a good pickup? Josh, I almost included him on this list. When you look at the raw numbers of this game, I think it was 3 catches for 33 yards. His day was saved by a punt return touchdown. In deeper leagues, I think Parker Washington is still a good pickup. I do think his role is terribly diminished by Jacoby Myers and then the possible return of Brian Thomas Jr.
Yeah, I mean, he's a backup. That's basically what he is. Like, he's not, he's filling a role right now. They went out and they traded for Jacoby Myers because Myers can do Brian Thomas' role. He can do Travis Hunter's role, right? Parker Washington he's a depth piece wide receiver that's being thrust into a starting role, and he's not overly excelling at it, right? But he knows the offense, so that gives him a leg up, at least this week, right? When they recently acquired Jacoby Myers, Brian Thomas Jr. misses a week. If Brian Thomas Jr. is out again this week, then yeah, sure. Like, you can start him as a flex and maybe you do get another punt return touchdown and it helps save your week, right? But you can't bank on those. Hell, you can't even bank on offensive touchdowns. What is it? What's his floor, right? Quite honestly, his floor is like 7 points. It's like 4 catches for 38 yards.
Yep.
And I don't love that. But again, that's a waiver option.
Yeah.
Kind of the way that I look at it.
Yeah, I would. you're probably not grabbing Parker Washington to start him unless you're in a very, very deep league. Quincy says, will we drop Godwin for Franklin or Alec Pierce? Josh, I'm done banking on Chris Godwin coming back. I would make this move for either one. I'm prioritizing Pierce again, as long as you don't have to start somebody this week.
Yeah, if you're holding Godwin, my guess is you probably don't need to start somebody.
That's true. Good point.
So go get Alec Pierce, but yeah, I would rank him Pierce and then Franklin.
Alpocalypse says, would you drop Watson for Tez if you already have Emeka Egbuka? This is an egg. With that. I was gonna say this is an eggs in the basket question. It's not like Watson's been bad, but again, you've even said
great.
He hasn't been great, and Tez Johnson is 4 touchdowns in his last 5 games. I think for Tez Johnson. So
exactly, he has 4 touchdowns in his last 4 games. Christian Watson's calling card is the fact that he's averaging over 20 yards per reception, but he has played 3 games this season and has exactly 4 targets in each of those games. He has 4 catches, 2 catches, and 2 catches, and scored no touchdowns. So like he's running wind sprints, but actually catching the balls that are thrown to him, but he hasn't found the end zone. And part of that is the last 2 weeks they haven't had Matthew Golden, so he's now kind of running that role. But he stepped right into what his old role was the moment he came back from injury. Now it just boils down to, can Jordan Love hit him in the end zone? Because none of these wide receivers are seeing 7, 8, 9 targets. They're all in the 3 to 6 range. And that shows with Christian Watson. Like, if you're not getting opportunities, you have to score touchdowns, and he's not doing it. So give me Tez Johnson over Christian Watson.
Similar question for Jose. Would you drop Jaden Reed for Sean Tucker if you're the Bucky Irving manager?
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, again, we love Jordan. We love Jaden Reed here. Love Jaden Reed because he's so electric with the ball in his hands. And maybe getting Jaden Reed back is what fixes this offense, because they can move him around and do all the things, but they're not like Savion Williams can do a lot of those similar things, and they're not even using him in that role, right? Jaden Reed needs to score touchdowns to be relevant, and that's something that he typically does. But right now, Josh Jacobs is the one scoring all the touchdowns for the Green Bay offense. So I don't know that I feel comfortable banking on Jaden Reed because he always comes off the field when they run 12 personnel.
Now, with Luke Musgrave, the only healthy tight end, it's unlikely they're going to run a ton of 12.
Yeah, I mean, sure, but they're trotting out that Fitzpatrick guy as well. So, like, you know, it's just kind of been next man up. Like, they haven't really changed the offense. They're still running a ton.
Fair enough. Like,
they took some shots to Luke Musgrave. The only difference is Musgrave obviously is not Kraft, so they're not throwing a ton to
do
him.
shit with it.
Yeah.
Joseph making me choose between my waiver babies, Trey Benson or Alec Pierce. To me, this all comes down to, are you going to start Alec Pierce? If there's a chance Alec Pierce cracks your flex spot, I make this trade all day. Trey Benson is depth at this point, Josh.
Yeah, and the question is a trade question. Would you trade Benson for Pierce? So, I mean, look, I would always rather have running back depth over wide receiver depth.
As would I.
So the only way I'm truly making this trade is if I feel like I need to start Alec Pierce in a given week.
There we go. Josh and I agreeing. Quincy, you have DeAndre Swift, Josh. Would you drop Kyle Monangai for RJ Harvey? I think RJ Harvey needs to be added speculatively. I don't love dropping Monangai for him.
Yeah, I would probably try to trade Monangai and then just grab Harvey. Kind of what I would do.
Yeah, you probably only have 5 hours to get that trade done, though, is the only issue. So.
Yeah, I know a lot of leagues have like 48-hour trade deadline.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even think about that the trade wouldn't go through. I meant getting it done before waivers tonight because you have to claim.
Yeah, because you essentially need to do a 2-for-1 to kind of clear space. But
yeah,
I mean, Monangai is good to have if something happens to Swift. I mean, are you rushing to start Harvey or are you just adding him to your bench? You know what I mean? Like,
that's a good point.
I'm going to say no.
Keep the insurance on your own team, especially if this is your undefeated
that's
team,
what I would do. I mean, especially because we've seen Monangai pop in a featured role. So we know he can handle it if Swift ever goes down.
Oh, let's see here. I think we are caught up on waiver questions. We've had some people waiting for quite a while, so let's get Michael up on the screen. If Michael's still with us, you've been waiting almost a half an hour for this one. Sorry, buddy. Michael is full PPR, 2 wide receivers, 1 flex. He has Pickens, Ibuka, Parker, Washington, Franklin, Kieran Williams, Dowdle, Chase Brown, whole roster on here. Woody, Algiers, Isaiah Davis. So I guess the first question is, does he trade Algiers and one of his wide receivers for Matt Stafford when he has Caleb Williams? Assuming this is a playoff contending team, I'm absolutely good with that trade.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I mean,
and I would start with Parker Washington.
Yeah, 100%. You start with Parker Washington. I'm trying to think. Dowdle. Yeah, I mean, you don't need Algier. That's a depth piece. Yeah, I mean, if you can package, honestly, Algier and either of those wide receivers, I'm 100% fine with. I'd obviously prefer to keep Franklin with Pickens, Ibuka. Franklin's going to be the better piece. I have a hard time thinking that gets it done, so probably Franklin is who you would need to trade.
Very fair.
And I'd question if even that gets done, considering how hot Stafford's been at the quarterback position.
Joseph, sorry for the wait. Been waiting a half an hour to ask us, after seeing Jordan Love look like absolute ash yesterday, my words, not his, Bo Nix, Jordan Love, or Jacoby Brissett. Nix has Kansas City. Brissett has, I forget, San Francisco at home for Brissett.
Love's at the Giants.
Jordan Love does have the Giants, though. Josh and I will point out. Well, Josh is south. I'm in upstate New York. We're getting weather in New York now. I just want to throw that out there. And if Jordan Love is going to come out and not look great because of a little Green Bay weather, it may not be much better in New York, Josh.
I don't think it was the weather that really affected him, truthfully.
Okay.
I think it was just
the Eagles defense.
Matt LaFleur sucks, and the Eagles defense got a hell of a lot better. Brandon Graham, first game back. Nolan Smith coming off IR. Jalen Phillips debut. They put a lot of pressure on him, and he could not get comfortable. So that Eagles defense looked really fucking good last night.
As did the Packers defense.
Yeah, and look, the Giants can get a lot of pressure. They've got 3 really good defensive ends and a damn good defensive tackle in Dexter Lawrence. So it's going to be a matter of, how the Giants offense keeps things going. I don't think you're going to get another kind of slugfest in a defensive slugfest like we did Monday, because the Giants secondary is so bad and they take a lot of shots down the field. Christian Watson gets downfield. If they get Matthew Golden back, that's another guy that can get deep. They were looking downfield for Romeo Doubs. So I think that alone lends me to believe that Jordan Love is going to be fine this week.
Okay.
I will say that Nix obviously has the most upside here. Let's call a spade a spade.
I was going to say, we saw bad Jacoby Brissett this week. Yeah. Nix obviously looked awful this past week. I'm probably going Bo Nix, but the matchup with New York's not that terrible for Love either. I'm literally flipping them back and forth in my rankings as we're speaking here. I don't know. I think, Josh, if it were my team, I would go Bo Nix and hope for one of those like wild divisional matchup sort of things.
And that's fair. 100% fair.
Where were we? One more question where they've been waiting for a while, and then we can do a segment. Joseph's been waiting. Do we trust the Cowboys defense against the Raiders, or do we think we go with the Patriots against the Jets? Patriots are going to be a top 5 defense for me this week, if not a top 1 defense. I don't mind the Cowboys against the Raiders. I'm certainly going with the Patriots, though.
I am never starting the Cowboys defense. Are you fucking kidding me? I learned my lesson starting the Bengals against the Jets. Bad defenses are bad for a reason.
Very good point, Josh. Very good point. Quick reminder, folks, Saints and Colts are on bye this week. Keep an eye on your drops tonight for that players that might get dropped in your league. Josh, we created an entire segment for our 8-team leagues out there. We call it Waiting in the Kiddie Pool. You started a league just to do some research on 8-team leagues. Talk to me about some of the guys you like this week.
Yeah, I'll start at the quarterback position. Aaron Rodgers versus Cincinnati. It speaks for itself. It's Cincinnati. That defense is trash. And especially coming off of a dud against the Chargers. I think since the Steelers offense gets going here. Tua Tagovailoa versus Washington. Tua had a big bounce back against the Bills. Also, not a great defense. And guess what defense is really banged up? Washington. so banged up that they took play calling duties away from their defensive coordinator. That is the only cause for pause that I have for Tua this week. It's simply the fact that Dan Quinn is that good of a play caller on defense. But they just lost Deron Payne, their star defensive tackle, for a suspension. Marshawn Lattimore is out with an injury, and everybody else is just absolutely trash. So I think Tua can do well here. At the running back position, Nick Chubb is at Tennessee. Again, it's a game script environment here. I think Woody Marks is fine as well, but this is a game where Nick Chubb can sneak in and have like low end RB2 value. And Travion Henderson, it's the Jets. The Jets suck. You don't put the genie back in the bottle. And a couple of wide receivers I like: Christian Watson at the Giants, Kayshon Boutte versus the Jets. Again, it's the Jets. We saw if Kayshon Boutte comes back and plays this week, the seeds are there. Mac Hollins went 6 for 100 this past week. That should have been Kayshon Boutte. Okay. Boutte can do really well against the Jets without Sauce Gardner there. And then Christian Watson, as I mentioned, he's averaging over 20 yards per reception. The Giants secondary, ass. They're terrible. They're going to throw deep. I think this is the opportunity where Watson actually finds the end zone on one of these deep balls. At the tight end position, there's a lot of really good options on waivers, guys.
Josh, I was shocked when I was putting it together. I'm like, tight end's my favorite position on waivers this week.
There are a lot of really, really good tight end matchups. A couple that I do like. I do like Theo Johnson against the Packers. I like it a lot less if Jackson Dart doesn't play. But Cade Otton against Buffalo. Cade Otton being that third target here. He's seeing a lot of run, and Buffalo sucks, guys. Let's be real here. Buffalo sucks. And I went 6 for 9 on my picks last week. A lot of really good games for my picks. So we'll see how this plays out. But I like all those guys this week.
Yeah, I love your picks here. Someone asked in the chat. We'll get the question up when it's time. But have the Dolphins figured their shit out? You certainly hope so. And as you pointed out, against the Washington defense that has just been terrible this year, you just hope that Dan Quinn can't.
I think the biggest wild card is the fact that it's in Spain.
Yeah, that's
it's overseas this week.
Is this our first game in Spain? I don't remember hearing.
I think we had one last year in Spain.
Oh, okay. Super interesting. Aaron Rodgers against Cincinnati feels like stream of the week material. But the one I am most excited for, Josh, you kind of already leaned into this one. Man, do I hope Kayshon Boutte is ready to go on Thursday, because I think Kayshon Boutte, I'll tell you right now, if Kayshon Boutte is going on Thursday, he is my captain in our showdown slate, without a doubt. I think he could absolutely feast. Love that. We're going to get back to the chat. I'll remind you folks, if you like what you're hearing, hit that like button. If you want to hear it again next week, hit that subscribe button. If you happen to be listening on Apple or Spotify, please hit that follow button. We appreciate each and every one of you. If you want to talk fantasy after this show is over, we do have a completely free Discord. Josh is dropping the link for you right now. It's also in the description of this video. Back to the chat. Joseph, what do we got to pick one out of Tedero McMillan. What's that? Or Jose. I'm sorry. Could I be any more white, folks?
Right.
Tedero McMillan, Jerry Jeudy, Jawan Jennings, or Tez Johnson. Josh, it's
Jose. I think you're new here. It's never Jerry Jeudy. I promise.
It's never Jerry Jeudy. He'll be up later in the show in the same segment he's been in since week 2. We are Jerry Jeudy haters here. Josh, I'm probably just sticking with Tedero McMillan. He clearly has Bryce Young's trust. It's not a very functional offense, but Tedero McMillan and Rico Dottle are persevering.
It's Tez Johnson for me out of this group.
I think that's fair too. B-Rob needs 2 wide receivers and a flex. Sutton, Flowers, Tez, Slayton, Monty, DeMercado, and Loveland. We're not going to worry about the pickup question part of this yet. So, Josh, you got to pick 2 of these wide receivers. I think, is it Flowers and Tez? Do we not trust Sutton anymore with the way Bo Nix has been playing?
I really don't, honestly. Yeah. Flowers, Tez Johnson. I think that's the go-to here for me. Slayton hurt again. That sucks. Sutton's just really hard to trust. Again, it's not so much that I trust Troy Franklin either. Like they're spreading the ball around a ton, but Franklin seems to be that guy that, has Bo Nix's trust right now. Looks for him underneath. Sutton, his routes right now are just down the field. So like if the deep shots aren't there, he's not seeing the targets.
Yeah.
So Flowers, Tez, those would be the wide receivers that I would look at. For the flex, I don't love flexing tight ends, although I do love Loveland this week. But part of me wants to lean Montgomery. Eagles play the Lions on Sunday night, and that Eagles defense is really good. And I think Gibbs has the much better game than Monty this week. To me, he's the safe play. If you want the upside, it's Loveland.
Yeah. I'm probably going Loveland just because I love Monty, but it's getting tougher and tougher to trust him as a start, really. So Joseph, the person I thought I was grabbing earlier, said, would you trade Ibuka and Tyrone Tracy for Jacobs and Tez Johnson? His current wide receivers are Emeka Ibuka, Devontae Adams, Drake London, Tedero McMillan, and Ricky Pearsall. With Devontae picking up that injury, I think he's fine. I don't think you can afford to move off of Emeka Ibuka, and I also don't think Josh Jacobs is a big enough return for me, Josh. I'm holding on to the Emeka Ibuka side of things here.
Devontae London, Ted.
It's a good trade.
Look, Tez provides you better depth at wide receiver. Jacobs is a massive upgrade over Tracy. Massive.
Yeah.
Devontae London. Honestly, I'm making this trade because when you really look at it, if it's Ibuka for Josh Jacobs, it's kind of a wash for me.
I was going to say, you're not wrong. And I guess Joseph told us his wide receivers. I kind of need to know his running backs. Like, is Tracy a starter for you? And if that is the case, then yeah, I can see making this trade.
I mean, even if Tracy's not a starter, Josh Jacobs definitely is. So, like, you're improving your flex spot one way or the other. But if you don't need...
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, and through my conversations, actually, no, I'm thinking of somebody else. Sorry, Joseph.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, I'm fine making this trade, honestly.
If you're not, like, doing some wild shit for running back depth, if you don't have two...
Like, you still have a number one wide receiver in Drake London. Devontae Adams is a top 7 wide receiver.
And Devontae Adams, as long as he's
like,
healthy.
You have two top 12 guys right there. Tedero McMillan's a solid wide receiver too. Tez is performing like a wide receiver too right now. You've got plenty of wide receiver depth here, and you get a massive upgrade at running back. I'm making this deal.
All right, make the deal. Craig, 2 wins in a row. Wide receivers are Diggs, or he has to choose. He's benching one of these players. Diggs, Higgins, or Devonta Smith this week, Josh. He has to bench one, so we're starting 2.
It's weird to say, but I think I might bench Higgins. The way that Devonta Smith has been playing lately. He's kind of been the featured guy in Philly. Detroit's secondary is not great. I will say, after watching the Eagles coming out of the bye week, I'm a little nervous. So I'm trying not to let my fandom here get the better of me in discussions, but I think I might sit Higgins.
I think I'm okay with sitting Higgins.
Pittsburgh's secondary has been, they've been hit or miss.
Yeah.
They've been very hit or miss.
And this is going to sound weird. The way the Pittsburgh secondary is specifically hitting wide receivers, T. Higgins is the most likely of this group to pick up an injury as well. Like, yeah, I'm shocked at how well they're playing. Joseph throws his running backs in. Tyrone Tracy, Jalen Warren, Chuba.
You're making this trade.
Make that trade as quickly as possible. Yeah, you need Josh Jacobs.
You need, Jacob. And now Jacobs and Warren become your 1-2. Yeah, that's a good trade for you, dude.
Waste Man. I'm trying to figure these names out because we can't see people's names anymore. Wants to know our thoughts on Vidal and Keenan Allen rest of season. Vidal won me back over this week, Josh. This was not a good matchup after a shitty week. I thought he was going to be bad again this week. The Chargers have reaffirmed they're in on this guy, and it doesn't look like Amari and Hampton for at least the next 2 to 3 weeks. I'm good with Vidal. I feel like these Chargers wide receivers are very hard to read.
They are, but they have 3 top 20 wide receivers in fantasy.
Yeah, you're not doing terribly.
So, I mean, Keenan Allen is fine. Like, look, every single wide receiver, even the best ones, have down weeks. It's all a matter of, are they all in consecutive weeks or are they spread out over the season? And that's ultimately what makes us decide whether or not we feel that we can, quote, trust them or not.
Yeah.
I'm fine with Keenan Allen rest of season. I think he's a top 24 guy. Kamani Vidal, again, he's going to be fine until Amari Hampton comes back. But right now, we don't know when that is. So we need to just treat him as the top 20 running back that he is, in my opinion.
Yeah. So 2 top 20 guys, plain and simple.
There you go.
Tron took an L this week because his Commanders could not stop Jahmyr Gibbs. His running backs are CMC, Barkley, Jalen Warren, Bigsby, and Gainwell. Would we trade Warren for Rashee Rice knowing that he is light on running back during CMC's week 14 bye? So in other words, you're getting rid of your depth at Warren to get a good wide receiver at Rice. I think you have to make this trade, Josh. But I also think that then in week 14, he's starting Barkley and Gainwell, and that is not ideal.
You make this trade because Rice is the better asset, plain and simple. Then you worry about running back later. Now that you've gone through and you've upgraded your overall roster, you figure out how to get a secondary running back.
Plus, if Rice helps you win 11, 12, and 13, 14 matters a lot less unless it's the first week of your playoffs.
Correct.
Yeah. George says he's apologized if we cover it. He is not comfortable playing Arondé Gadsden this week, even if he does play. Are we looking to add Otten, Schultz, Njoku, or Fannin in what order? Josh,
Njoku is last on this list.
I was just going to say, I'm taking Njoku out of this list, Josh. I am loving what I'm getting from Harold Fannin, but you cannot ignore what Schultz and Otten have done in these offenses as of recently.
Yeah,
I'm probably going Fannin.
It's Schultz, Otten, and Fannin for me.
Schultz, Otten, Fannin. For me, I would go
because I'm taking the better situations, the better quarterback over the worst offense.
And the Browns is always the worst offense. I would go Fannin over Schultz, but Josh puts Fannin last. I totally get it. Schultz is my 2. So if you're looking for the law of averages here, Schultz wins. Josh, Aaron Rodgers got that juicy matchup against Cincinnati. We're starting him over Knicks this week, right? Because I certainly am.
I'm perfectly fine with it.
Yeah. Michael following up on his trade. The other guy has Bijan Robinson and Josh Allen, and he's low on wide receiver, so that's why he's targeting his team for the trade. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, go make that trade. Josh, has Miami figured their shit out? What an interesting question. My nervousness here, Josh, is it was a division game, and weird shit happens in division games.
Yeah, I'm hesitant to say that they've, quote, figured their shit out. But again, I mean, there's not a ton of talent on this team, and I think that's really the biggest hindrance. Because of how the offense operates, especially with a lot of timing routes, they have a shorter quarterback. They do have a leaky offensive line, so they're very matchup dependent. And that's really what it boils down to. If the matchup is there, I think the offense can work. And I mean, if you listen to us consistently, you probably listen to Joe Zolo on Wednesdays. Buffalo is overrated on defense, and they've been overrated on defense for a very long time.
Yeah, very fair. We're about to hit the 1 hour mark, so I'm going to put the questions on hold. You guys know we're going to get to you. We're going to do Morse code. We're going to do our main waiver section of the show. We're looking at your standard 10 to 12 team leagues. We have this broken down by position. So, Josh, as you pointed out, tight end and quarterback are super interesting. We've talked numerous times before. Running back and wide receiver is not looking great. But let's start with the quarterbacks, Josh. Joe Flacco coming out of that bye, I think he does have a great matchup. Tua Tagovailoa, we talked about. The Houston quarterback, CJ Stroud or Davis Mills, has a nice matchup. Aaron Rodgers, great matchup. Jacoby Brissett is definitely your floor here. When you look at these, Josh, you have Tua Tagovailoa highlighted. And I know we've talked a lot about this switch happening in Washington. How do we feel about all this?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at what Tua did this past week, it's easy to think that this is a trap game, especially with it being overseas. With Dan Quinn taking back over play calling, he can get a little bit more creative with blitzes, etc. But right now, that Washington Commanders defense, outside of like Bobby Wagner, is a shell of itself. They don't have much going on for him. So Dan Quinn's going to have to get really creative. Tua's calling card has always been he gets rid of the ball quickly. They work a lot of timing routes. Do you want to bet against Devon Achane right now? Because I don't. And he's doing it all over the field, not just in the running game. He's doing it as a passer. Jalen Waddle is a top 12 wide receiver in fantasy right now.
Well, this is what
I'm sounding like a genius on my wide receiver breakouts, and Joe giving me a bunch of shit for putting Waddle on the thumbnail. But he's doing the damn thing.
This is what we've always said about Waddle, is if he had the offense to himself, he can be good. So.
And he's doing that right now. Yeah. Malik Washington is scoring touchdowns for this team. Like, who? You're fine starting Tua as a streamer this week, in my opinion.
Yep. I think Tua and Aaron Rodgers Joe Flacco as well. Those three, I think you're happy with any of those. I think you're taking the step down if you're looking at Jacoby Brissett, certainly for floor. And then it feels nice to say nice things about the Houston quarterbacks. I just don't know that we can ever trust the Houston quarterbacks. When we look at the running backs, Josh, as I pointed out, things take a distinct ugly turn. Kareem Hunt coming off of his bye. Amari DiMercato, because I'm not sure Trey Benson is back this week. Tyjae Spears, again, is a floor play. But Josh, I know you've been waiting all week. As we get less and less information about Bucky Irving, Sean Tucker sure looked good this week, and you got to see it up close and personal.
So, fun fact, the Patriots' run defense is really fucking good. They, heading into week 10, not a single running back topped 50 rushing yards against this defense. Until Sean Tucker, baby! Until Sean Tucker. He is that dude, and he needs more opportunities. He has 21 carries over his last 2 games, 95 yards, and scored against New Orleans. That was a plus matchup. Guess what Buffalo is? A plus matchup.
Absolutely.
Since week 6, they've allowed the 3rd most points per game to the running back position and allowed 4 rushing touchdowns to running backs over their last 3 games. And yes, I understand. They got beat up by Devon Achane. They've also been beat up by the likes of Kendre Miller. Had over 60 yards against them.
Absolutely.
Backup running backs can do well against Buffalo. Running backs in general can do well against Buffalo.
And for the record, Rachaad White sucks.
Also true, right? They give up a lot to pass-catching running backs in the passing game. Rachaad White can have an opportunity here. But he is the most inefficient running back in the NFL. And that's not a wild statement because it's damn near factually true. Like, you cannot get worse efficiently. Sean Tucker is going to be involved. Like I said, he's averaging over 10 carries over his last 2 games. They're finally getting him more work because Rachaad White is not doing what they need him to do. The downside to Sean Tucker is he's not involved in the passing game. So for him to truly be a fantasy asset, a flex play, RB2, whatever, he has to score a touchdown. If you are taking a chance in a deeper league, this is the week to do it because Buffalo gives up points to running backs.
Yeah. I'll also quickly throw out Sean Tucker played his college ball at Syracuse. Buffalo only about 2 hours from Syracuse. Little bit of a homecoming game for Sean Tucker. I wanted to quickly throw Zach up on the screen out of the quarterback session. He said, what year is it? This feels like the 2010s. We're talking about Joe Flacco and Aaron Rodgers positively at quarterback. Yeah, it's been a weird year. Again, Josh, wide receiver, just as ugly as running back. You have some interesting players here. Trey Tucker, Malik Washington, you pointed out. Darius Slayton, there's a lot of knocks on Darius Slayton right now. He has his own hamstring injury, and you have a concussion at his quarterback. Parker Washington, we talked about. Christian Watson. Kayshon Boutte. My goodness. I was shocked he was available, but I guess people just had to drop him because he was hurt. Kayshon Boutte is my favorite of this bunch, Josh. You've already spent a little time on Christian Watson. Talk to me about Christian Watson.
Yeah, again, he's starting to get his old role back in this offense. They just need to find some level of synchronicity to really keep things flowing. He has 4 targets in every game this season that he's played in the last 3. 85, 58, 45 yards. He's averaging well over 20 yards per reception. This just boils down to, can he get into the end zone? The Giants' secondary is awful.
Terrible.
This is the week that he can score a touchdown. I love me some Kayshon Boutte. That's probably the guy that I would pick out of this list. But if I'm going for a secondary option, that probably might go unnoticed on waivers because he only has 4 catches in the past 2 games. Christian Watson can get 4 catches and score a touchdown this week.
Yeah. And then, Josh, you've hit on this earlier in the show. I was appalled at the 5 names I'm about to give you folks that are available at tight end. And we're going to talk just a little bit about the first one. Colston Loveland, Harold Fannin, Dalton Schultz, K. Dotton, Theo Johnson. And just to remind you all about my method, to be on this list, they have to be available in at least 50% of ESPN leagues. Josh, we could talk about these guys all day. We spend a ton of time talking about these players. We love all 5 of them. I just have a rhetorical or non-rhetorical question because what fun is rhetorical on a fantasy football show? How the hell does Colston Loveland did what he did in week 10 or week 9 and not jump well above 50% rostered?
I don't know. People aren't listening to me when I said he's got a cake schedule over the next month.
And he wasn't great in week 10, but he was good enough.
Yeah, I mean, he had over 9 fantasy points. Again, you tack on a touchdown, he's a top 5 tight end, right? Minnesota, since week 6, is averaging 16.2 fantasy points allowed to the tight end position. Baltimore, since week 6, is allowing, where are they at? Oh, they're down here at the bottom, 8.8. So not the best matchup for Harold Fannin. Schultz gets Tennessee. Tennessee is allowing 14.3 fantasy points per game to tight ends. Buffalo is averaging, where are they at?
Should be right in the middle.
Yeah, I think they're right in the middle. Nope. The lowest, actually.
Oh, wow.
6.3. They've actually been pretty tight against tight ends over the last 4. But you play Miami, they don't have a starting 10 tight end that's going to skew your numbers. Exactly. But again, K. Dotton is featured enough in that offense that it's not going to matter. And then, Green Bay is middle of the road, 13.4 fantasy points allowed. So like all of these guys probably, I would say, outside of Harold Fannin, have pretty decent matchups this week.
Yeah.
I mean, again, you could argue K. Dotton, but you
could also argue that nobody has the ceiling that Colston Loveland has, and that was proven already. So I'm still going to lean on this kid. Cannot imagine why he's so available.
Yeah.
All right, that wraps up the primary waiver section of the show. We are going to finish this show up with your questions and a deep sea waiver section. So Josh, let's get back into the chat. Quincy, would we drop Colston Loveland? No, man. Weren't you listening? No, I'm joking. Would you drop Colston Loveland for Dalton Schultz? I would not, Josh. I'm playing ceiling. Schultz has the best floor of any of these guys by far, arguably K. Dotton, but I'm going Colston Loveland.
I would as well, yes.
And then when we would start Jacoby Myers this week over Brian Thomas Jr., I don't think you're going to have a choice here. I don't think Brian plays. I was told I would read 2 weeks when this whole thing started. So,
yeah, this decision can be made for you. I mean, even if Brian Thomas Jr. plays, I think Myers probably slots more into the Travis Hunter role.
Yeah.
He was involved another week learning the playbook. He'll get more involved. I mean, at the end of the day, do you really trust T-Law? Find another option, but if I have to choose between these two, it's Myers.
Josh, this is the kind of trades I love seeing folks make. Hockey Kid says, would we trade Oronde Gadsden and Pearsall for Devonta Smith and Pierce? He has Kittle and needs help at wide receiver. This is exactly the trade you make.
I mean, you make this trade 10 times out of 10 because what are you getting out of Pearsall right now? You're not getting anything. So
yeah, this gets you 2 starting wide receivers in fantasy to give up a young buck at tight end when you have the old reliable at tight end. So
yep, 100%.
Zach says, would you drop Gadsden or Stevenson for Kayshon Boutte? If I'm playing Boutte this week, I'll drop Gadsden for him. That's just the nature of tight end. So
yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yep. Alpocalypse, 6-4 in a 12-team superflex, gives the entire roster, wants to know if we'd make any trades. So he's starting Josh Allen and Sam Darnold. He has no quarterback on his, he has Brock Purdy on his bench. He's starting Ibuka and Rice with A.J. Brown in his flex. So obviously there's some flex issues. He lists him as his flex and as his first bench. He has Genty and Judkins with Harvey Etienne. So you need wide receiver help, Josh. How are you trying to acquire a wide receiver on this team?
Honestly, this might be really controversial. I might sell Allen to downgrade a little at quarterback and add some depth at wide receiver.
Yeah, if you could, that's interesting, Josh, because if you could turn Josh Allen into Justin Herbert, Dak Prescott, Matt Stafford, that's interesting. Go get Matt Stafford, who's balling, and then get a solid wide receiver to shore up your flex and wide receiver spot. It's not the worst idea I've ever heard.
Yeah, I mean, right now, when you look at overall fantasy points, Josh Allen is third. He's one of 4 quarterbacks over 200 fantasy points. But you take out the rushing, you've got guys that aren't known for rushing upside that are sitting in the top 6, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Patrick Mahomes, he's run a lot more this season.
Yeah, best rushing quarterback for a while there.
Yeah, he was, right? That mantle is now. Guess who leads quarterbacks in rushing yards this season?
I feel like I should know this right off the top of my head. I don't, Josh. Who is it?
Justin Herbert.
My guy.
Justin Herbert. You could downgrade from Allen to Justin Herbert and a wide receiver.
Make sure it's the right wide receiver.
Like, yeah, and that's, I mean, you're not doing it for like a Tez Johnson, right? Like, do it for.
I mean, it needs to be another top 10, top 15 guy, Michael Pittman.
Yeah, like maybe buy low on Pittman, right? See if you could do that. Let me think.
I want to quickly throw out. We're only suggesting this because you're 6-4 as well. If you were 7-3, 8-2, we'd probably tell you to leave it. The problem is you can't trust AJ Brown right now at all.
Yeah, I mean, if I could get again hypotheticals here because I don't know the other teams in the league.
Let me quickly throw out
Roma Dunze, wide receiver.
Are we overthinking this though? He could just bench AJ Brown and start Travis Etienne, but then again, it's clearly not working right now.
Yeah, I mean that's like Harvey's going to get a boost. Etienne is steady.
Zach jumps in and says Herbert and McConkey would be an excellent trade as well.
Exactly. Really I mean, and I think that's a doable trade offer.
I think so too. I think for Josh, I think people's eyes pop out of their head in Superflex for Josh Allen. So.
Exactly, right? And then they forget about who's actually around him. Right now,
Drake they're making their roster
worse.
In
overall points.
Yeah, how they're making their own roster worse.
Correct. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like Josh Allen is a QB3 overall, but like you could downgrade, quote, to a Justin Herbert, a Matthew Stafford, even a Daniel Jones. Pick up that extra piece, and quite frankly, you're not losing much going from that.
Even try Drake May. I don't know if Drake May has the reputation in your league that he does here at Club Fantasy, but you might have some sucker who's willing to give you Drake May in a piece.
Mm-hmm.
Quincy says he got 2 trade offers today with Kraft out. He's considering picking up Colston, or no, he picked up Colston Loveland. Now this person wants his Lamar for McBride. He has Flacco. With Flacco set to lose his job, Josh, I don't think you can make this trade.
So. No, I'm not making that deal.
The other offer was they want Abuka and Swift for Achane and Coleman. He would have Sutton, Garrett Wilson, who you don't have Garrett Wilson anymore. So he would have Sutton and Rashee Rice. This team, in my opinion, Josh, needs Abuka more than they need Achane, and that's hard to say.
Yeah, I think you're okay at running back. I mean, look, Achane's a game changer. I get it. You should want him, but
100%.
You're not getting anything from Coleman. This is a 2-for-1 deal. This is Abuka and Swift for Achane, which, mind you, very fair, but you are weaker, much weaker at wide receiver, especially now having lost Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, if you move this trade, you're forced to start Courtland Sutton every week, whereas I would rather start CMC and Chase Brown and then be able to start Abuka and Rashee Rice every week. So, yeah. All righty. We got Joseph, Ertz or Schultz. Got to be Schultz this week.
100%.
George knows it's always about kickers in the dome and good teams are super valuable, but is badly droppable. He is on bye this week. So after the mixed extra point and then everything else that's going on there. Yeah, I mean, let's be clear. Every kicker is droppable with the exception of maybe Brandon Aubrey. And even he's the kicker too this season. Because right now you have Badgley and you have Dicker. Or no, Dicker's not on bye this week. So Dicker's bye is next week. Because I was going to say, those are like Aubrey and Dicker are the number 1 and number 2 kicker. I don't think you can drop Dicker next week just because of how great the Chargers are playing. I don't think you can drop Brandon Aubrey. Every other kicker to me is droppable, George. Don't fret about it. Easy to stream that position. Extremely easy. We haven't got to this section yet, Josh, but Sergio asks if Calvin Ridley is droppable. You're damn right he is.
Yeah, at this point, yeah.
Yeah. The fact that you've held him this long, kudos to you. I have him in a couple of leagues.
I was going to say, I've been holding him. I'm stubborn. So
yeah. Alex gives us his team for week 11. Drake May starting at quarterback, Woody and Judkins at running back, JSN, Jay Jettas and McBride as 2 wide receivers and a tight end, Amika Abuka in the flex. Josh, he gives his bench there. Would you make any changes? I don't think I would. His best bench player is
Henderson.
Travian Henderson. Henderson over Abuka, or excuse me, over Judkins. There's an argument to be made there.
I would agree with that. Because again, Judkins isn't very involved in the passing game, so he has to score.
Actually, in Henderson over Woody as well. I just missed that. I'm going the 2 rookies. Give me the Ohio State rookies. I'll bench.
You realize Woody Marks is a rookie too, right?
Yep,
They're all rookies.
It's a very good point. Kudos to you for having all rookie running backs. Give me the Ohio State guys, Josh. I'm starting Henderson and I'm starting Judkins.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
KJ Frederick, should we drop Bo Nix? Just flat out drop the guy for Aaron Rodgers. He also has Sam Darnold, so he is considering it because Rodgers went off. Rodgers is the play this week, Josh. I don't think I'm mad at dropping Bo Nix. It's all about wins now and getting into the playoffs, and Bo Nix isn't getting you there.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I mean, Bo Nix is inconsistent. Sam Darnold has been consistent enough to start for you. Like, don't get confused because he only threw 12 passes this past week. Like, they just the defense scored 2 touchdowns. They did not need Sam Darnold. Like, don't freak out.
Yeah. Kush, off the waiver wire, are we picking up Algier Stevenson, Kareem Hunt, or Sean Tucker?
The only reason I'm picking up Algier is if I have Bijan.
Exactly. If I need to play somebody, Josh, it's Kareem Hunt. He has the best chance to do something this week, even against that Denver defense.
Yeah, because they use him so much in the red zone.
Yeah. If I am just stashing, when you look at what could happen, I mean, we don't think Ramondre Stevenson gets his rollback. So that
even
kind of
stashing, I'm taking Kareem Hunt.
You're going Kareem Hunt? Okay.
Yeah.
I would stash Algier. I get your point, though. But if you need to play one,
to me, the only reason to grab Algier is if you can trade him to the Bijan manager. But if Algier's on waivers, that tells you the Bijan manager doesn't want him.
Don't give a shit.
Yeah. So
KJ Frederick, Hendo, RJ Harvey, Sharbs, Kamani Vidal, we have to start too.
Vidal, I think it's Vidal and Hendo for me.
Yep. And
Harvey gets interesting because if Dobbins is out. But again, Kansas City is a tough run defense, and I don't love that matchup for a rookie and a potential first career start. I'll stick. Yeah, give me Hendo and Vidal.
There you go. Alpocalypse. What about Allen and AJ Brown for May and JSN as quickly as possible?
I mean, if that's on the table, go get May and JSN 100%.
Those are the exact kind of trade we're talking about. Yeah. Make that trade because May to Allen to me is not a step down, and JSN to AJ Brown is an enormous step up. Like that's a great fucking trade. George, would we play Pearsall if he cleared this week?
Doesn't look like he's gonna be.
Yeah, I'm with Josh on that. And then the same thing with Dart on the concussion. Going up against Green Bay, would we play him over Caleb Williams? I forget who Caleb plays. Minnesota. Nah, I'll go Caleb in a dome against Minnesota.
Yeah, so the thing with Dart and the concussions, I think I read somewhere that everybody that's entered the concussion protocol has missed at least one game.
I've been telling you that all season long. You probably read it as well because I read it somewhere too. So
I would be nervous about the possibility that Dart even plays, truthfully.
Yeah, basically we're saying this isn't even going to be a problem for you. Josh, I thought we had 1 segment left. I forgot. We have 2 segments left. Mayday. Time to drop some of these guys. Josh, for the first time all season, when I looked at the quarterbacks rostered in over 50% of leagues, I didn't see one you could drop. JJ McCarthy could be a drop, but he's also an add in a deeper league because of the matchup this week against Chicago. So I didn't want to put him on the drop list and the add list because that's the dumbest thing ever. But let's talk about these running backs, Josh, because we're of the ilk. You don't ever drop starting running backs. Some of these guys aren't starters anymore. Chuba Hubbard, Bill Krosky-Merritt, Isaiah Pacheco, Nick Chubb. You disagreeing with me on any of these here? Are you keeping any of these guys on your roster? And I do want to say, you're not just dropping them to drop them. I'm saying because you need to pick someone up and play them this week.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, just looking at their season-long rankings, like Bill is RB 31, Chuba's 35, Chubb is 41, Pacheco's 44. So that, again, you're just looking at season long. But when you get to this point in the season, you're projecting what can you do for me the next 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks to finish out the season, right? None of these guys are coming in and winning you a week. I'm sorry. It's just not happening. So at that point, if you have the ability to pick up someone that can help you win a week, whether it's a wide receiver as a flex, a running back who's now getting an opportunity because of an injured starter, go drop these guys. They're not winning you any weeks.
Yep. Terry McLaurin, Josh, even if he comes back, that offense is dysfunctional. Jerry Jeudy, Matthew Golden, Cooper Kupp. Let's take a few seconds for the folks who are going to push back on Jerry Jeudy, who just had the best week of his season. You're never going to play him. You're not starting him. He's ass.
You want to know something funny, Ryan? When I did my projections, Jerry Jeudy came in at wide receiver 53.
Is that what?
Guess what he's ranked right now? Wide receiver 53. Damn, I'm smart.
This is a Jerry Jeudy hating show. You're going to get no pushback from us on dropping Jerry Jeudy. But
at the end of the day, he might be the quote wide receiver 1. When you're the wide receiver 1 on the 32nd ranked offense, you're not worth rostering in fantasy.
Nope. And then, Josh, it's time to drop the old guys at tight end. TJ Hawkinson, Evan Ingram, very similar to what you said at running back. You're not playing these guys. They're not winning you any weeks, plain and simple.
Yeah, you can't. If Justin Jefferson wasn't Justin Jefferson, you could probably make the case that he's not a fun rosterable fantasy asset. TJ Hawkinson is definitely not a fun rosterable asset because JJ McCarthy's way too inconsistent. Yeah. Evan Ingram is supposed to be the Joker. Oh, he's definitely a Joker. Okay.
Yeah.
Just the wrong kind.
Joker to the ones who drafted him. Hit like, hit subscribe, hit follow, do all the things you need to do to help our podcast succeed. Join in our Discord. It's a completely free Discord. Link in the description of this video. We're going to get to questions as we wrap up the show. But Josh, let's do some deep sea diving. My home league is a 14-team league. So these are the types of decisions you need to make in 14-team leagues. We talked about a lot of good quarterbacks out there in 10 to 12. So that's going to bleed into this a bit. But I did add JJ McCarthy and Marcus Mariota mainly because of their matchups this week that make them interesting, though. After you see what Miami did to Buffalo, maybe not Mariota. Sean Tucker was on my list. Josh said we need to move him up to the bigger list, but I also threw Kenneth Gainwell, Blake Corum at running back. Again, not a lot of options. But Josh, there are some interesting options at wide receiver. So actually, let me quickly tell you my tight ends. Mason Taylor, Luke Musgrave, Jatavian Sanders, Noah Fant, I think is the most interesting of this group because he gets that plus matchup against Pittsburgh this week. They're also bad against tight ends. There's going to be a lot of scoring in that game. But Josh, when you look at these wide receivers that are available in most deep leagues, I think there's some interesting players here. With Garrett Wilson set to miss time, Adonai Mitchell, Tyler Johnson. Jalen Naylor goes off this week. Jaden Higgins seems to have established himself. If you didn't see Kyle Williams' first career catch, that boy is fast. Roman Wilson, I'm always sketchy about these Pittsburgh wide receiver twos because you don't know who it's going to be.
And they can't catch the football.
And then Tyler Lockett seems to have a role with the Raiders, as crazy as that sounds. Josh, you have Jaden Higgins highlighted. Let's start there, and then let's finish this up with the Jets wide receivers.
Yeah, so Higgins has 7+ targets in 2 of his last 3 games.
Yeah.
Those came against San Francisco and Jacksonville, which both are plus matchups to wide receivers, and scored a touchdown in each. He is at Tennessee this week. Guess what that is? A plus matchup.
Very much so.
He's 3rd on the team in targets over the last 3 games and has the 2nd highest passer rating when targeted on the team behind Xavier Hutchinson. He literally gets you nothing for yak. He averages 1 yard after the catch.
Yeah, sometimes that's because it was 1 yard in the end zone because he's been finding the end zone a little bit too. So.
But his average depth of target is 12.8 or 12.5, one of those two.
Ow.
And that's right on par with Nico Collins.
Yep.
Who's at, I believe, like 13.5 or 13.8, something like that. Like, they're targeting him down the field. So, like, take those numbers. Like, you get 7+ targets. That turns into 4, maybe 5 catches. That's a 5 for 50. You add a touchdown. That's a flex week.
Yeah.
And again, that's what he's done in plus matchups these last 3 weeks. He has scored touchdowns.
Josh, you've been a fan of Tyler Johnson for a while. They pick up Adonai Mitchell. Garrett Wilson set to miss time. But unfortunately, they all still play for the Jets. And Justin Fields is still the quarterback there. Are you taking a flyer on either one of these guys as a flex 2 in a 14-team league?
I mean, if it's a 14 or 16 team, yeah, because there's not going to be very many other options. I mean, look, Fields, God, so bad. So bad. I think honestly, at this point, if you're needing to pick up a Jets wide receiver, you have to be hoping and praying that Tyrod Taylor ends up starting games for the Jets.
No lies detected there. So, all right. Those are the desperation deep sea dives. We got a couple of more chat questions before we get out of here, or at least before I try to figure out how to get us out of here. Cash Money says, would you take Saquon for Jalen Warren and T. Higgins? He has Puka, Amon-Ra, Stephon Diggs, and Darius Slayton. I almost said Steve Slayton. That's a throwback. He has Jonathan Taylor on bye this week, Jalen Warren, Woody Marks, Ramondre Stevenson. So he would be replacing Warren with Saquon, giving up Higgins, who he doesn't even list on their wide receivers right now because he clearly doesn't need him. Your first 3 wide receivers, Diggs to Higgins, I think is a fair enough exchange. You're turning Warren into Saquon. Josh, I'm making this trade.
Yeah, I have zero issue with that. I mean, Saquon and Warren have had pretty similar seasons, but it's hard to argue that Saquon doesn't have more upside in a given week than Jalen Warren.
Yeah. What would we package to trade for Tyler Warren or Kittle? These are the disposable players: Woody Marks, Travis Etienne, Franklin, and Hunter Henry. To me, Josh, it's start with Franklin and Henry. If you don't need Woody Marks, he's your counter offer if you need to throw a counter offer. So start with Franklin and Henry, see if that's enough. Or if they need a running back, start with Henry and Marks and then throw the other guy in as the counter offer. I'm willing to give up.
You could maybe go as far as like packaging ETN and Warren to really upgrade at running back.
What?
Like you're talking about packaging Warren and Marks.
Henry and Marks to get Tyler Warren or Kittle. He's trying to upgrade.
Oh, that's what he's trying to. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I mean, tight ends are streamable. I don't know if anybody's really going to want Hunter Henry, honestly.
So Alpocalypse brings up that Warren is on bye. That's not for this question, but to me, this is the week to attack the Tyler Warren manager. So that's where I would go Henry and either Marks or Franklin.
Yeah, that is a good matchup. So maybe somebody might be willing to go for that.
And he says all 4 of these players are disposable.
Yeah, I mean, start with Henry and Marks. I think that's fair-ish. Yeah. Honestly, the way that Tyler Warren's playing, I think it's going to take ETN to get him.
Yep, see what happens. Quincy says, who's a better stash, Tez or Ricky Pearsall?
Right now, I want nothing to do with Ricky Pearsall.
Yeah, I'm just like, I haven't heard
this feels like a degenerative knee issue. Like he had issues with this knee last year. He's missed what feels like half the season already with this knee injury. I don't. What's he going to play? 5 snaps and then break a knee? Like I no. Give me Tez.
Last question of the show. Maybe we just got one more thing. Nope. Second to last question of the show. First we go here. Oh, you guys are killing me. Never mind. We got another one. Josh, let's get this. Tyler Warren's on bye. You got to drop Tootin, Watson, or Purdy. I'm not dropping Watson. It's Tootin or Purdy. I don't typically hold backup quarterbacks. So even though Tootin has done nothing, I'm dropping Brock Purdy.
Yeah, I'm fine dropping Purdy, honestly.
Will you start Trey Tucker and Tez over Debo, Tedero, McMillan, or Wandale? Definitely not Trey Tucker.
I'm fine starting Tez over any and all of them.
You said you are?
I would start Tez over all of those guys.
So you got to bench one, Josh. I'm benching Wandale of this group, assuming Jackson Dart is missing the game.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
That wraps up the show, folks. I don't quite know how the ending of the show is going to go. I'm not going to play a video. We're just going to hit end here in a second. Well, first I'm going to hit the go live button and see what happens. And then we're just going to both leave the stream and see what happens. But I will remind you, Club Fantasy is live again at 10 p.m. tonight. It is Samantha Holt. It is Derek Tate. It is Sideline Banter. It's our co-production with WAF. So make sure you jump in there. Hey. Thanks, buddy. I grew it myself. Josh and I again tomorrow. No Joe Zola. We'll be live at 9 p.m. Eastern, where it is all about Week 11. It's all about your start-sit questions. You're going to see some weird shit at the end of the show. The show is truly over. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for riding with us for this time. I'm going to hit some buttons and see what happens now. So, Josh, first I'm going to hit go live and just see what it does. Okay, it says we're live. Now I'm going to hit end stream